Yo, what's up, guys? If you guys had money on Ethereum, any ETH, any of the altcoins, anything that was on Ethereum mainnet, you actually have a bunch of free tokens waiting for you now. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about Pulse Chain and how you can claim those tokens and sell them, swap them, do whatever you want, but it's free money. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into this video. Now, before we start chatting about Pulse Chain and what it is, you're going to need to have some history and some culture on Hex. Hex is it's a Ponzi. And a bunch of people look at the token and they're like, man, this is amazing. Well, Richard Hart is basically behind the Hex token. And at the peak in its bull market, it was actually ranked second in market cap. If you take a look at how many tokens you got a lot of Hex. It's 588,962,220,000. Basically, at one point in time, this market cap was about $350 billion. Now, if you compare the market caps on ETH, the peak for ETH was around 500 billion. And there was a point in time where ETH was actually flipped by Hex, just going based on pricing and market caps, yada, yada, yada. But anyways, Hex made a lot of people a lot of money, and they have a cult-like following to this dude named Richard Hart. This is Richard Hart. He's basically behind Hex and the Hex token and Pulse Chain. Get it, Richard. Get it. So anyways, let's talk about this so-called Pulse Chain and how you can go ahead and claim your tokens, sell them, swap them, provide liquidity, do whatever you want. I don't care. Not financial advice, of course. PulseChain.com is the site that you go to. You simply add this to your MetaMask, and once you do that, now you need to see which tokens you can go ahead and get. You can add them manually going on to the Pulse Chain scan, or you can simply use this pretty easy to use tool. Now, if you sacrifice, this is something a little bit different. But this is basically a scan for your Pulse Chain tokens. It's going to scan your MetaMask. So it's going to pick from like 5,000 of the most common tokens. And you literally hit scan. And it's going to say, here, add this token because it scanned this token in there. I have some PLSX. It was free tokens. I haven't bridged any money over. It's just whatever. Here's some Hex. Let's add these tokens. And it's asking for SETH. And I will add the tokens. So basically, I just get a bunch of random tokens. I'm going to add these to my MetaMask. Now, once these tokens are in my MetaMask, you can go ahead and open it up and go ahead and take a look at the different assets that you have, and you can select them. Say, for example, the TVK that I have, I want to go ahead and sell this. Well, I click on the TVK token and I go to view asset and explore if I want to go to the explorer to get the contract address, or I can go to the token details. This is the contract address. So I'm going to copy this. Now I go into Pulse X, which is like Pulse Chain Swap, whatever you want to call it. And I simply say, all right, cool, bro. Let's go ahead and paste and add this. Now the TVK token is here. And let's say I had, I don't know, let's just call it, I had 1 million of them. Well, I basically just got $100 for free, and I can go ahead and swap them. Now, time is of the essence of something like this, because as more and more people claim their tokens and withdraw their LPs, the people are going to take them out, and the tokens are no longer going to be worth anything. And you can't really swap for it. So I would recommend swapping into some like PLSX or PLS or some sort of token you can cash out with. And if you want to take a look at some of the tokens in general, you can see the different prices for some of them. Like you got the DAI stablecoin, which is worth $8,000. You got some USDC, $8,000. I mean, everything is really off price because it's not priced in dollars. It's actually priced in the PLS token for some of the pairs because that's where the liquidity is at. So it's really hard to price some of these things. Like it's trillions in liquidity. No, it's actually not. It's kind of one of those things. Most of the things are priced in PLS because that's how most of the pools are deposited. And as you can see here, the PLS price is 0.000235. So if you're pricing stuff, it's best to price it against PLS or the Hex token, because these are the tokens that will probably have most of the liquidity on Hex in general. You can also use PLSX as well. Now, if you wanted to bridge funds over, you can do that. This is the bridge.pulsechain.com/$ or pound, whatever you want to call it, /bridge. And you can bridge over from ETH and get over to Pulse Chain. Make sure you check to see if the bridge is congested or not. You can actually check this handy dandy website, but you can see people are just flowing in some cash. And if you take a look at DeFi Llama, it's also popping off on there. But basically, so far, we went ahead and showed you how to get your tokens, so you know how to get those tokens for Pulse Chain, and I showed you how to add them on PulseX. If you're wanting to swap these and exchange them, you can swap them for PLSX and PLS. Later in this video, I'll explain the tokenomics, or at least a little bit on them, so you guys can get an understanding. But you can see here, Pulse is already ranked number 8, and they've been flying. They only have 2 different protocols. I'm not uber bullish on it, as in like long term, but I know Richard's going to pump the chain. He's going to pump his tokens. That's what he does. That's what he did for Hex. It's a very illiquid token. It's easy to pump, or was at least easy. Hex is still somewhat easy to pump, but there are a lot of whales out there ready to sell. So you have some other alternatives like PLS and PLSX. Now, PLSX and PLS, the more volume and the more transactions that they have, the tokens are actually burned. As you can see here, 0.037% of the supply has already been burned since inception, and it has pretty healthy liquidity for PLSX. And you can see here, PLS is also, pretty, I wouldn't say deflationary, but a lot of the tokens have been burned as well. You have 1.44 billion, but they have a total supply of 135 trillion. Give and take, do what you want with it. I mean, you really can't price these in the market caps. It says 32 billion, and this one also says 14 billion, 64 million. It's really hard to evaluate these market caps because most of them are kind of like not the right actual market cap, because again, these are going based on the LP pools. But anyways, this is the information. You do with it what you will. This is one of those things you kind of look at it and you're like, what do I think is going to pump more? And I really wouldn't recommend throwing any new money at it. This is one of those things, you take your airdrop tokens and you just throw it at the wall. Just whatever. It's free. It doesn't matter. I would say to pick between PLSX and PLS. You can choose Hex if you want. But Hex, it's got a lot of whales. And again, the PLS Hex is different than the ETH Hex. You have 2 different hexes. The ETH Hex is completely separate. The PLS Hex was actually just a new token that was airdrop. Now, you can also get into the farming if you want to do the farming as well. This one is a bit even more degen, but I threw a little bit in here to farm some incentive token because why not? Who cares? Maybe the incentive token will be worth something. Maybe it won't. It's a yield farming coin. We all know how those go. Sometimes they go up even when we expect them to go down, and they usually go down when we expect them to go up. That's how it rolls. But you can farm with ETH. You can farm Hex and PLS. I would recommend staying away from these stablecoin pools because since these are centralized stablecoins, they don't really have much of a peg, because Circle is the one issuing it on the mainnet on Ethereum. If they were just randomly dropped because this chain was forked, it's not really backed. Like, which one is actually backed? Is the one on ETH or the one on Pulse Chain? Well, in reality, it's the one on ETH because that's how you can actually redeem it. But TLDR, if you don't really understand what I just said, the point is like, these are not actually backed on Pulse Chain. So if you're going to provide liquidity in some of these pools, try to stick with something like Hex, Wrap PLS, or PulseX, like PLSX, and maybe Incentive Token. These are like the native coins on Pulse Chain, and it's not like they are just like funny money just printed out of thin air, which most of the tokens were, because they're really just airdrop. But yeah, these are some of the farms you can participate in, or you can simply just choose any pool that you want. It's just like Uniswap. You just provide liquidity, you find the LP token, you add liquidity, and you say PLS, PLSX, you choose whatever you want, any of the tokens, and there is a little bit of a difference. They only charge 0.27 or 0.27% of the trading fees, whereas Uniswap, or I'm sorry, 0.28, whereas Uniswap is actually 0.3 for most of the pairs, especially since like its inception. But now it's actually different with concentrated liquidity and the different customizable fees. But basically, they lowered the fees and they actually give the governance tokens, which is PLSX, they give them a larger share by giving them 0.06%. And then 0.22% goes to the LP pools. So kind of like a revenue share model. It's kind of cool. That's also why I grabbed a little bit of PLSX, again with the free money. I'm not throwing any additional money at it. I don't care if it goes up. I don't care if it goes down. It's free money. It was just like airdrop because it was funds on ETH. So that's the thesis on PLSX. It will be successful as long as this DEX is successful, which I think it will, and more tokens will be burned. Going to the burn page, tokens are burned. But yeah, the tokens are going to constantly be burned. The gas fees are nuts. Let me show you what a swap looks like. It's because it's so congested. Let's see. I don't know. Whatever. We'll swap this. Confirm swap. Let me show you guys the fees. The fees are extremely high. Well, not fees. They aren't really that high. It's like 50 cents. But for Pulse Chain, it's high. Like 4,000 PLS. I mean, it's fine. It's a fork of ETH. It burns more tokens, whatever. But for someone who's just trying to make a couple of swaps with a small amount, it's complete wreckage. It's much better than ETH, like fee-wise. But hey, do with it what you will. And it's really hard to price these things. There's really, like, it's PLS, PLSX. Like, what's the value of PLSX? What's the value of PLS? And if you're valuing it, like, how do you value something against something that has no value, or you can't? And so this is all really just speculation, but you can get your free tokens and just go based on a thesis, and basically with a rising tide lifting all boats. But yeah, I'll drop the links in the description below. Grab your free tokens, do what you want, and you can farm. You can provide liquidity. I think I went over everything. Check out the bridge if you are bridging over. Make sure this is like close to 100 or 90. Like now it's fine. But before, the bridge was congested and you couldn't. It was like Hotel California. Go on the bridge, you ain't leaving. You try to leave, it's not coming out. It's congested, but it seems okay now. But you got incentive, Hex, PLS, and PLSX. Me, personally, I think the play is PLSX, PLS, and I just had some Hex airdrop because why not? Get it, Richard. Get it. But anyways, time will tell. We'll see what happens. Let's hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Or James, actually. We're going to go in James chapter 1, verses 2. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Guys, the trials, they're good for us. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys go ahead and grab some of your free tokens. Do with it what you will. If you guys want to join the exclusive Discord and support the channel, you guys can do that with the Patreon link in the description below. And you guys can stay up to date with content and videos like this, and some that I don't even show on YouTube. Like this will be featured in the Discord before you guys even see it. We've actually shared it in Pulse Chain and been talking about it like a week ago when it dropped. But anyways, see you guys.